Right before this interview, I was getting an IV. Right before this interview, I was getting an IV.
Before we get into all that madness, Ben, share with the Freak Nation. Remember, this is a 2-hour show, but share with the Freak Nation what you were doing before we did this damn interview, and show us your arm, buddy.
Right before this interview, I was getting an IV.
Because he had a couple of super truck races in Nashville on the road course that the IndyCar race was on, and a TA2 Trans Am race. So needless to say, 1440, 140, you might need some fluids after that. You got yourself a top 10 in the Trans Am, the TA2 race. That's pretty badass. Again, it still amazes a lot of us that a 14-year-old can beat the bejesus out of old dudes. Congratulations, man.
Thank you. That's one of the toughest series I've raced in. They're also the biggest cars I've raced in. Not the most horsepower. The Stadium Super Trucks have more horsepower, but I like driving those cars the most. They're just a lot of competition, and I really enjoy doing them.
You know, it probably looks like when I used to drive a big freaking 76 Cadillac, probably looks the same thing when I was like 15, 16 years old with your little head and those big old cars. I've seen the pictures and the video. It's a freaking beast. Is there a time where you just get lost in that car?
Not really. I've done the first race I was a little sort of lost, but I did a lot of go-karting, and we've adapted to learning tracks as soon as we see them. So I learned stuff pretty quickly, and the first race in the TA2, the clutch was burning up when I got on track, so I didn't get any laps until the actual race, so I didn't get any practice or none of the qualifying or anything. So I just straight into the race with no laps and went from 20 or 40th to 20th.
We're talking Nashville, a.k.a. Crashville. At least the IndyCar series has made it that way over the last couple of years. This is not an easy track to pass on. So you did that much passing with no practice registered in the TA2 today. That blows my mind.
Well, I didn't do that at Nashville today. That was at Sebring.
Got it. Okay. That was how you started the series. Got it. Okay. Pat yourself on the back for that, though, because Sebring is a track that likes to beat up your hands, beat up your body because it's so bumpy, and you just took those bumps in stride. That's something to be proud of, too.
Yeah. Before the weekend, I have a Mazda Miata that I drive, so we went down there a few times and practiced in that and just got to learn the track. And in the Miata, I did a 2-hour endurance race and won that. So I got to know the track pretty well just from the Miata racing I did on it. And
nice.
We were just I didn't get any testing before the Sebring race either, so it was just straight into the race with no seat time in the car.
You know what, Ben? No problem. They just throw you to the wolves, don't they?
Yes, they do.
Ben, we're so excited for your upcoming episode on The Rise on MAVTV on Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern. And in that, I know that your dad talks about how he does a lot of training with you. You have this amazing setup in your backyard for off-roading, motocrossing, but you learn basically all forms of driving with your dad. Is he your number one teacher? I would imagine that answer is yes, but tell me why he is so good for you.
He's just I trust him because he's my dad, and he might not always be right, just because I probably have more experience in race cars than him. I'm the first one in my family to drive cars, or not drive cars, but drive cars for a living. So I can trust him in what he tells me. He also did rode bikes, so he taught me how to jump stuff like the motocross bikes in my backyard. And I can also tell him some stuff sometimes too. But he usually gives me ideas when he's watching the races at Nitro Rallycross. He told me to cut across the ruts more, and because that's how I flipped at Glen Helen. So he saw that when he was watching something that I couldn't see, and that was helpful.
I love how you say, though, he isn't always right. How did those conversations go?
Well, look at Statman. The Statman couldn't pull himself off the floor. He's laughing so hard at that comment.
Seriously, how do those conversations go when you have to tell your dad, no, Dad, that's not going to work?
We'll like mess with each other and say like something like along the lines of there's no way that's right, or like you're dumb or something like that.
Yeah.
And then I try it and show him it doesn't work. I've actually flipped my side-by-side in my backyard a few times, trying some of the stuff that he tells me to do. Like once he told me to try and send it into the turn harder and try and like go through the ruts instead of going slower through them and gripping up into them. And I went through the turn and tried what he did, or tried what he said. I told him it wouldn't work, but I flipped it with my friend in it. So that worked.
I'm stunned here. I looked up the results. Ben Maier, Trans Am driver, Trans Am TA2 driver, and stadium truck driver, cart driver, side-by-side driver. He's not a taxi driver yet, but give him time. He'll be doing that as well. But one of the names that finished behind you in the Trans Am race at Nashville is a friend of the Freaks. Boris said, you talk about teaching people to drive. He's taught some of the fastest guys in NASCAR how to drive. And this weekend you schooled him. What was that like? Do you even have any idea who Boris said is?
Yeah, I've talked to him a little bit and know his kid some, or not really know him, but I've talked to him as well. So we've met, and it's pretty cool to be able to race with him because of what he's done in racing. And he's getting older as the days goes on. I'm not calling him old, but he's
Ben, wait a minute.
That's great.
Statement alone. That's incredibly wonderful. And we got to get Boris. Hasn't been on the show in a while, but we got to get him. We got to play that sound bite. He's getting older as the day goes on. That's just wonderful. But you beat him. Was he in the same race with you? Did you even know he was in the race? You were in front of him.
Yeah, I think it was pretty cool. Us kids just can come into these series, and we have like a whole nother, like more energy, just a bunch of stuff is on our side. So they have more experience than us, the more experienced drivers that have been in racing for longer. And they probably know how to drive better. It's just we have more endurance and just stuff like that. So as we keep growing, like we're probably going to get the experience they have and get to the skill level they are. It's just,
there was another guy, Ben Maier, another guy behind you in that TA2 race at Nashville. Was a NASCAR team owner. Maybe you, Justin Marks, you ought to be showing him some more respect. If you keep beating him, maybe he's not going to hire you to drive for his team when you get old enough.
Yeah, Justin's a great guy. I've talked to him a bunch, and he is just amazing. He's helped so many people.
Wait a minute. I'm sorry to cut you off, Ben, but he is a business partner with Pitbull, so maybe you could work out a deal with Justin, let him stay on your fender a little bit. Maybe you could meet Pitbull out of the deal.
Yeah, that would be cool. I think it'd definitely help my career.
His name is Ben Maier, Freak Nation, running in the Trans Am TA2 class, super trucks, and anything else you can put him in. He got some major league recognition from Travis Pastrana. He's on the Rise, coming up 8 p.m. Eastern on MAVTV. And you look at really what you've done over
Thursday, by the way.
Thursday. Thank you. In your short career, Ben, it is bonkers. When MAVTV was following you around with all these cameras, how long did it take you to really put the cameras aside and Ben to be Ben and your dad Jim to be Jim, ignoring the cameras?
We do like a lot of stuff for our Instagram and YouTube, so I've done a little bit of the camera stuff. So it wasn't like too different. It's just they also had they were like a professional camera team, so it was a little more nerve-wracking just having them around. And then it took me probably 2 days or so to set in and get comfortable with all the guys all the crew, the camera crew. And I'm not really sure about my dad. I don't know how long it took him, but
was there ever a time you told the crew to get the hell out of here? I need to go do my business in the bathroom.
I don't think I ever told that.
Oh man, I'm just amazed you're upright at this point. The fact that you had such a hell of a weekend and 2 races with the super trucks and of course the TA2 class in Trans Am. It's badass, Freak Nation.
Mm-hmm.
Thursday night on the Rise, Ben Maier, MAVTV, 8 p.m. Eastern. That's 8 p.m. Eastern, Thursday night on the Rise on MAVTV. What's next for Ben Maier?
We've been on the road for a month or so in Mooresville, just with the Silver Hair crew that I raced with Trans Am, and a bunch of we've just gone to shops. We've been to a race gear company called Simpson and got some new racing gear that I used this weekend, and just been meeting people down in Mooresville. So we've been doing that, and I think we're going to go back down there for the next few days after this, or after we leave Nashville. So that's what's coming up next. But my next race is probably my next Trans Am race.
Got it.
At Watkins Glen.
So the future, you would hope, would be NASCAR, stock cars, whether it's ARCA, trucks, Xfinity, Cup. That, I'm assuming, is what you want your future to be. Would you entertain something Trans Am full-time, or maybe something open wheel related, anything else on the dirt aside from trucks?
Yeah, I would definitely. I've done stuff on the dirt. I did sprint cars for 2 years or so, and they were fun, but my dad didn't want me to get injured in them, as he saw that there were so many drivers getting injured in those cars. So we sold that and stopped racing it. And then I would like to maybe do some off-road trucks or something. That would be cool. And Formula cars are always an option as well. Most of even NASCAR drivers, or even Formula One, IndyCar drivers have done NASCAR, IndyCar, a different professional series. So I think it'd be really cool to get into Formula cars a little bit and just do some races here and there and different stuff.
Ben Maier here in the Freak Nation, 14 years old. Freaks doing more in the last 2 or 3 years than most of us do in a freaking lifetime.
And he doesn't even have a driver's license for the street.
No. On the Rise.
But he's schooling people at racetracks.
On the Rise, coming up Thursday night, 8 p.m. Eastern on MAVTV. You follow him around for 30 minutes, but they jam in many, many days and weeks of different forms of racing with Ben Maier and company. Buddy, good luck to you. We're happy you got yourself off that gurney with the IV. It's good to get you in the Freak Nation, man.
Yeah, it's a pleasure meeting you guys, and thank you.